Before anything happens, before the smoke, before the music, before the first thought even drifts, there's always that moment. The pause you barely notice because you've done it so many times. Reaching for the grinder, tapping the bowl just right, lining things up the way you like them. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, that you could skip it. It's just a habit. But let something interrupt that process. And suddenly, the whole moment feels off. Just incomplete. So here's the question. If it doesn't matter, why does it feel like something's missing when it's gone? I don't believe that's an accident. I believe that's ritual. So welcome back to Third Eye High. However you're showing up today, that's going to be enough. And if you got some road like I do, go ahead and spark it up. If not, no worries. You don't have to get high to enjoy this podcast. Just settle in. Because today I want to talk about ritual, not religion, not ceremony with robes and rules. I mean our rituals. The small, quiet, repeatable things we do every time we get high. And if you've been here since the beginning, you already know this is the last episode in our opening arc. Episode 1 was the science, how our bodies are literally built to recognize the cannabis plant. Episode 2, well, that was the history, how cannabis moved through our cultures, through empires, through entire civilizations. This one's personal, because no matter where weed comes from or how it works in the body, what really sticks with us is how we experience it. And that's where ritual lives. You see, most rituals don't announce themselves. They don't show up with instructions. They don't ask for attention. They don't even tell us they matter. They just quietly appear again and again until one day you realize they've been shaping the whole experience. And the strange thing is, you usually don't notice ritual until something interrupts it, until the routine changes, until the setup is different, until the moment just feels off. That's when it hits you. The ritual wasn't extra. It was the foundation. You see, humans are pattern people. We like repetition. We like rhythm. We like knowing what comes next. And it's not because we're boring, but because familiarity gives the nervous system something to lean on. That's why mornings tend to look the same, why certain songs hit harder at night, why we make coffee the same way every time, why we sit in the same spot on the couch. Ritual isn't really about control. It's about comfort. It's the brain saying, this feels familiar. I can relax now. And when it comes to weed, ritual turns smoking into something more than just consumption. Most people don't just rush straight to the first hit. There's a process, breaking it down, rolling it or packing it, adjusting the setup. And then that pause. You see, that pause matters. It's the moment where intention slips in. Even if nobody says it out loud, you're not just changing your state. You're preparing for the change itself. That's why first smoke sessions stick in memory, even when the details don't. People don't remember the strain. They don't remember the potency, but they remember the moment. Who was there, where they were, the feeling in the room, the anticipation. It tells the brain, this matters. Remember this right here. Think about your first real time getting high. Not the half-baked puffs. I mean the moment where you knew the music sounded different, food tasted louder, time stretched out and folded in on itself. That wasn't just your imagination. That was your biology syncing up with something humans have always known. And this is where group ritual starts to matter. Because when you're high around other people, your experience isn't happening in isolation. It's being mirrored, checked, contained. You notice yourself noticing. And I remember one of those early moments clearly, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of how normal it felt. We were hanging out, playing Mario Kart. I had a bowl of cereal in my hands, and suddenly my entire inner world turned into a debate. Should I smash the bowl or not? Back and forth, over and over, like the bowl had its own gravity. Meanwhile, everybody else is just sitting there, existing. And apparently, I was getting obvious because eventually someone looked over and basically told me, you better not smash that bowl. And at that point, the only smart move for me was to surrender. So I handed it over and said something like, well, you're going to have to take this bowl from me then, because this weed is pretty damn convincing right now. And we all laughed. And that moment right there, that's group ritual. Not the cereal, not even the joke, the anchor. The fact that somebody else was there to pull me back when my thoughts started drifting too far. That's what trusted people do. They give the experience edges. They remind you where you are. That's why trust matters. You don't just smoke with anybody. You smoke with people that understand the rhythm and that shared understanding. That's ritual turning into culture. Every ritual has its tools, joints, bowls, bongs, that one piece that's been through everything. Each one creates a slightly different rhythm. Rolling slows you down. Packing makes you deliberate. Lighting becomes a checkpoint. And yeah, everybody has been the person who torched the whole thing at least once. That reaction alone tells you everything. The ritual matters. Over time, tools stop being objects and start becoming markers. They represent phases, places, versions of yourself that don't even exist anymore. That's why replacing a piece can feel emotional. It's not about the object. It's about the memory. Understand, some pieces can outlast friendships. And that's not even a joke. But ritual isn't just about what you're holding. It's about the environment, the vibe, where you sit, what's playing, how the room feels, how the light hits. Those details aren't random. They're instructions to your nervous system. This is a slower space. This is a safer space. This is a different mode. Music does that. Lighting does that. Even the choice to be inside or outside can change everything. And you don't set the vibe to impress anybody. You set it to regulate yourself. That's where cannabis starts becoming something more than a substance. It becomes a threshold, a doorway between before and after, between doing and feeling, between noise and presence. Ritual prepares you to walk through that doorway instead of being thrown through it. And here's where it flips, because ritual is powerful and power cuts both ways. Sometimes we think we're lighting up to relax, but really we're trying to avoid something, whether it's silence, stress, loneliness, restlessness, whatever's been waiting under the surface. That doesn't make you weak. It just makes you human. But it does mean there's a line, a thin one between I'm choosing this and I need this. And from the outside, they look exactly the same. That's why the pause matters so much. That little moment before the first inhale. That's where honesty lives. Because ritual doesn't judge you, it reflects you. It amplifies what you bring into it. So no, we're not always attached to the thing itself. We're attached to that shift, the doorway, the relief, the transition. And here's the part that most people miss. This really isn't about weed. This is about how humans turn repetition into meaning. We do it with everything. Morning routines, meals, music, relationships. Cannabis just slows things down enough to make that pattern visible. That's it. It lets you see what you were already doing. It lets you feel how much of life is ritual. Wake, eat, move, connect, rest, repeat. So next time you smoke, don't rush it. Notice the process. Notice the pause. Notice what your body expects next. Because that moment, that tiny space before the shift, that's not nothing. That's the whole thing. That's the part you thought didn't matter. The part you said you could skip. The part that actually shapes everything. That's ritual. That's where the experience really begins. And that's why this had to be episode 3. First the science, then the history. Now, the experience. From here on out, the questions only get bigger. Next time, we're going to talk about the do-over button. Not time travel, not fantasy, just the idea of being able to start again. But for now, thanks for sitting in this smoke session with me. Until we spark up again, you stay curious, stay lifted, stay third eye high.